Good morning, friends. I just rolled out of bed. Today, I'm gonna show you how to go from this to that because I don't know what it is. If you are in your 40s like me, it's like you wake up one morning and suddenly you feel like you almost age overnight. And you wake up always looking so tired. I don't know how else to describe it. Haggard, is that a nice word? No. But that's how I feel most mornings. So if you feel the same way, you are not alone. The thing is, there is a lot of things you can do to kind of like feel more like yourself, to look less tired, but we always don't have a lot of time in the mornings. If you're a busy mom like me, I don't have an hour to wear a mask or even under eye masks most mornings. So we're just gonna go over today some key things to look more like yourself, a well-rested version of yourself as quickly as possible. So this is gonna be everything from, I think, skin prep is a huge key, certain makeup tips, especially focusing around the eyes, which you guys probably know by now, is definitely where I look the most tired, but I'm gonna show you a few things on other areas of the face as well. So not really sure what to call this, a little mature skin refresh. If you wanna check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you guys for being here. Okay, friends, let's get right on into it. What if you could just prevent waking up all puffy? That would be the easiest thing, right? So my first tip would be to either teach yourself to sleep on your back so that all the fluids can drain from your face naturally overnight. Sleeping on your back is one of those beauty secrets that everyone says is best. Now, I have been trying to do that for years. And if you're like me, and no matter what you do, you find yourself flipped over on your side, and then you wake up with a smush face, then I introduce to you one thing that can prevent those sleep wrinkles we will form in our face over time. So this video is sponsored by Sleep and Glow. This is my holy grail pillow, the Omnia. So this one is designed so that it has these cutouts. So as you're sleeping with your head here and you turn over in either direction, you don't smush your face. So if you've ever actually looked to see what your face looks like when you're sleeping flat, do you see how it makes these vertical wrinkles under your eye, forehead, and even makes your smile lines deeper? Those are the things that are preventable if you're using something like this and you're a side sleeper. So it almost makes your head just kind of float in this pocket. And so that way you're creating those lines in your face that over time will actually become permanent. Those aren't expression lines. When we smile, those are all very different. And these are not. The easiest thing I can add into my routine is just using this pillow to avoid those marks in my face. And I'm noticing the older I get, the more, if I don't use my pillow, if I don't take it while traveling, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like they last on my face longer. I can tell they're just becoming more permanent. It is actually their birthday here in July. The entire site is 15% off, and you can use my code CHEMIST15 to save. You guys hear me talk about it all the time because you guys know me as a scientist. I appreciate that are proven, and this is the only one that has clinically backed results, clinical trials where it shows it reduced wrinkles by 87% in people who used it for 3 months. So to me, and I can speak from personal experience, I've been using this pillow for years. So the Omnia is the one for side sleepers. that's the one that is a game changer for me. So check it out this month while it's on sale. Gotta love a good birthday sale. Okay, so you slept on your good pillow. You don't have added vertical lines, but what can we do about the just innate puffiness, dryness? Like I did my skincare overnight. You can tell my skin is still glowing, but I have not done my skincare this morning. And I feel like that is number one. If I don't use certain products in the morning or don't do some of these steps and try to just put on makeup and make it look better, my makeup never sits right. It's like trying to cover up a problem, but it's like still there. And so the first thing I do is make sure my skin prep is key. And that is 100% looking at certain ingredients in the mornings that can really like give you instantaneous results. And there are not a lot of ingredients that do that, but the ones that do are ones I only use pretty much in the morning when they're really gonna be able to do what I need them to do. And that is plump up these fine lines and decrease the look of puffiness and hydrate, lift, all the things, right? I had and used my micellar water and quickly ran it over my skin. That is gonna be my cleanse. If you have oily skin, you can use a cleanser. Dry skin, you can just use water or just go straight in with something to mist the skin. In my opinion, when it comes to morning skincare, you need to think depuff and hydrate. Hydration is what's gonna plump up fine lines. Caffeine is the key to really depuffing the skin, and there are some quick and easy ways, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start with my face, and then we're gonna go into eyes because I feel like eyes, there are more options. So L'Oreal is one of my favorites because it is quick, easy, you can do it in 2 seconds. It's loaded with hydration and ceramides, and it has a really fine aerosol mister, okay? So that is like my first step. If my skin is very dehydrated or just looks think texture, you need to really like plump up fine lines, get them to smooth out. This is when I go in with more than one toner to plump up the skin. So this is just like anything liquid, you can consider a toner or essence. It doesn't matter what exactly it is, but I'm looking for hydration. So I'm gonna use the Rhode Ceramide Facial Essence. This is the glazing milk. This I know is very hydrating, and I'm gonna put it on before that Curel has a chance to even dry. And that's kind of the entire like K-beauty trend of flooding the skin. Kind of layer on hydration, and you don't necessarily have to wait in between steps, which, since I want to show you guys the quickest way, I'm telling you, when I'm looking haggard in the morning, this is the quickest way for me to plump up my skin and make it look hydrated and not crepey. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like, it just helps so much. And then you can definitely just go in with the rest of your morning skincare. If you have something, I am definitely one that believes in you don't necessarily need a separate hyaluronic or hydrating serum. I think there is a place for those, but you don't need one. A lot of times, if you're using something else in your morning, these can be very hydrating. Like this has hyaluronic acid in it, and it has vitamin C. Anything milky tends to be pretty on the hydrating side, I'd say. I know my Mother Science that I normally use every morning is very hydrating. The Naturium Peptide Serum is a milky serum. It is very hydrating. But anything that's your favorite. One of my very favorites is this Bloom Effects Tulip Dewdrops. There's something about this serum that really plumps up my skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use this. And I take all of this stuff all the way up to my eyes. Again, serum on damp skin. It does not have to be dry yet, as long as you're not having issues with products pilling and balling up on each other and not absorbing, then you are completely fine just to go straight in. Now I'm gonna go in with my eye products. And now I'm gonna think eyes before I obviously finish off with either a moisturizer and sunscreen or just a sunscreen. So if you're looking for quick and dirty, quickest way to depuff, get yourself an ice roller. Nothing else will work as fast. It doesn't even have to be specifically for eyes. This was just something off Amazon. And just go from the center of your face out. You can go over your eyelids. You can use jade or rose quartz rollers, something like that. Rose quartz stays cold, but jade you would have to put in the fridge. But anything that kind of is cooling, that is gonna help constrict and push that lymphatic out. So if you're like me and a lot of fluid kind of builds up around the eye area, it's key. Now, I don't necessarily do this every morning, but when on days that I really look at myself and I'm like, whoa, I will bust out the ice roller, 15 seconds, and you can roll that side. And you could probably maybe see a difference already. This has been sitting out, so it's not quite as cold. Now, if I had an event, I would straight up take a hydrating eye serum like the Dew and some patches like the Forever Eye masks. And I would put these under my eyes and I would let them sit a good 15, 20 minutes. And I ice roll right over those. I mean, if you have a lot of time, obviously you can do like a full collagen, one of the K-Beauty collagen masks. Those are amazing. I kind of just like really hydrating and tightening everything up to where your skin will look like glass. And I feel like they just have a really great plumping effect. So you will wake up and you will not look tired. But those take a good 3 to 4 hours. Not everybody, I do not have that time in the morning. I'm sure you guys don't either. So slap on caffeine. It does not have to be expensive. Inky List, Ordinary. I just got sent this one from Peach and Lily. You really want to look at ingredients. Now, this one obviously says caffeine eye cream, but here's the thing. There are a lot of eye creams that have caffeine in them that don't say it as their main marketing because they do more than just depuff. But caffeine is 100% the best method to depuff the eye area. In my opinion, something with caffeine is a morning only. Now, you'll look at the back that says morning and night. Here's the thing. Caffeine works for 8 hours and then it will no longer work. It's just a temporary fix, which is fine because during the day, you don't need to be depuffed overnight, right? Like just depuff during the day and you are good to go and you'll look great all day. The difference between night eye creams and morning ones, and those caffeine are best for morning. I did an entire video on eyes, so I can link that so it will show you kind of like a lot more detail of eye creams. I will be honest, I think that is the one category I have tested more products in than anything else. Those are just ones that I'm not currently using. I have a lot more in front of me. Let's quickly just go over each, I don't want to say issue, but everybody has different issues around their eyes. Right now, you can probably tell, I still have dermatitis flared up on this eye here, and this eye, it's here. So I need hydration in order to make any makeup lay good over its peeling skin, and it's red, and so I'm gonna have to color correct in order to get things to lay and it to not look textured, because dermatitis is highly textured skin. I really need really good hydration there and non-irritating ingredients. That's what you're looking for. Quick, look for caffeine, use an ice roller. Say your main concerns is that you have a lot of dark spots under your eyes and you are trying to brighten under the eye, you're gonna wanna look for vitamin C. Now, these both have vitamin C and caffeine, so I find them to be good options because again, you don't want to just be using vitamin C under your eyes. If you're also puffy, you need to look for caffeine as well. Beauty Stat's one of the best. This is the Universal C Eye Perfector, which has vitamin C and caffeine. And then this one is the Supernova by Herbivore. Again, 5% vitamin C and caffeine. So if it doesn't say it on the bottle, check ingredients list, super important. Oh, dark circles. I feel like I hear dark circles more than anything. And this is the one part of eye cream territory that I feel like is the most misleading, because if you don't know what type of dark circle you have, you don't know what to treat it. So like I said, if your dark circles are caused by actual hyperpigmentation, like I have spots under my eyes that can lead to the darkness underneath my eyes, you can do the pinch test. And if you see that it doesn't get any lighter because it's on the actual skin, pigmentation is there, that is, you need vitamin C. Vitamin C, hyperpigmentation type products, like taking a serum like this all the way up to your eyes. That is what you need in order to get rid of that type of dark circle, again, over time. If yours is just caused by vascular, meaning you pinch and you can tell it's just because this skin is very thin and you're seeing depth from the veins and everything underneath your eyes, which is definitely what mine is. I have very thin skin, but I also have dark spots, you know, I have the trifecta. Then that is something that you want to tackle really at night to thicken that skin over time. That's when you're looking for a retinoid product. So the only eye creams that I say move them to night are things that can make you sensitive to the sun. So those are retinoids. I wouldn't necessarily put this under my eye in the daytime, but this is perfect for at night. Overnight, when your skin needs those treatments, look for the retinoid product. So this is a retinol eye serum by Beauty of Joseon, and it's one of the best. It's not irritating like some can potentially be for the eye area. It's made for the eye area. So this can, again, have realistic expectations. It's going to be a long game. Over time can thicken that skin and give you less of appearance of that depth underneath your eyes. Then there's also just genetic. If you genetically have depth under your eyes, your family does, like everyone in your family just has that, there's not a whole lot you can do except disguise it. There's no way to necessarily reverse something that's in your genes, right? This is where you get into a lot of colored to trick the eyes. So you're looking for peachy tones, orange undertones, things that will counteract blue and purple, okay? So these are two that, both of these have been sent to me and I've been testing. Pauline Rothschild, you guys have probably seen, talked about. This is the Illuminating Tinted Eye Cream. I'm gonna have to look. I don't think there's caffeine in this, but you can tell it is very tinted and it is also very shimmery. So in my opinion, I can see this working for people who have depth under the eyes. And it's so tinted that I do feel like it can color correct some of that depth. But if you are like me and you have a lot of lines under the eyes and you have mature skin, any kind of glow like this can emphasize texture, okay? So just know that. I can only use this under a full beat of makeup. I can use it under makeup, but I cannot use it by itself. I've seen some influencers, probably more like in their 20s, that can use this just by itself. I cannot, but I can under makeup and it works fine for me. So if you're looking for something where you have to use maybe less concealer, less eye makeup underneath your eyes, and this does really hydrate, gives a little bit of glow. I just can't do that much glow under my eyes. It just emphasizes everything there. One that I actually prefer on no makeup days is this one from Wise. This is the Wide Awake Brightening Eye Cream, and I do believe this has caffeine, and I really like this. And it is almost like a concealer. And I feel like you have to use very little if you're gonna be using makeup over it, or it can kind of affect your makeup application. in my opinion, in my experience. But for no makeup days, this color corrects my under eyes enough, and I don't need anything under my eyes. So say you just want to like go to the pool, sunscreen day kind of thing, and you just want to put on sunscreen and kind of color correct some of that so your eyes look more toned, like even toned around. Oh man, this is so good. I'm still experimenting with it under different kinds of makeup, but I have had some issues with it under some types. So just a heads up. That is what I mean by color correcting. So things that are tinted, and there's some other great, you know, there's some other different, I've used a lot of the ones that are slightly tinted and also have caffeine and things that you can use as more of a universal eye cream. I just don't find them to color correct enough for it to be like, that's all I need. The Wise Beauty is the only one that I feel like does that for me. These are great because they also have caffeine and you can use them under makeup, but just don't, to be honest, it depends on your under eyes. If you have a little bit of color, then they might be enough for you. I have a lot of depth in my inner corner, so I find that I need something a little bit darker, a little bit more pigmented. So just kind of gauge your expectations. If your under eyes are darker than mine, it might not work for you. Again, it depends on the tone, the color, and these two were very different tones and colors as well. So they all tend to range quite a bit. Now we're gonna go into eye bags, which I feel like I get asked all the time. And I do feel like something like this helps constrict. Caffeine also helps, but there are a few products that I have found that are kind of magical, that are temporary, that can tighten that area and smooth it out. And one of them I just packed with me this last weekend because I knew I had early mornings for our sports tournaments, was this one by Dr. Brandt. This Needles No More Baggage. So let me just try it on. I'll use this one under my eye. It's a very interesting formula, and you just use a small amount. You can tell it's tinted, but you're not gonna see this color at all. You rub it in between your fingers and then you simply tap it. You'll find that it's not really smooth. It's almost like a paste. And you can simply just tap it on the eye bag area, and it is quite magical, at least on mine. I can tell a visible difference once it dries down and sets. So things like this, again, it's not a miracle. It's not going to fix them, but anything that will give you a quick appearance, like, it is so helpful on those crazy mornings where you just want to feel more like yourself. Another option that I feel like is very popular on social media is using some kind of eye balm and just using a stick underneath your eye. It's very personal preference. Again, I would rather use caffeine because that is what I need. But if you've ever used the Aquaphor trick or something like that, balms can help kind of fill in and smooth lines. I feel like it works with some makeup, not necessarily all. It's something you kind of have to try to see if it works for you. But in my experience, most balms don't have caffeine. I know there are some that I've tried before and I don't really like them. It's a great brand, but it's hydrating, but it doesn't depuff for me. So I'm looking for ones that do it all. My two holy grails are these two. OneSkin I've used forever. Not only do both of these use peptides, this one is patented, it's got the OS01, it is incredible, but they both also have caffeine and amazing ingredients like and are very hydrating, I would say. And both of these are also silicone free, so you can use them both morning and night. And I do appreciate not having to have multiple, you know, being able to have a one and done product. So these would be my two choices. I would say the main difference between the two is the thickness. So here is OneSkin, and I feel like it goes out to be very gel-like, and In Beauty is much thicker and richer of a formulation. So if you like the extreme cream eye is very similar, but I feel like it's richer than even the face cream, okay? So if you have very dry under eyes, it might be a game changer for you. Like this is gonna be probably my go-to in winter months when my eyes, or like right now when my eyes are very dehydrated. I will say when my eyes are super sensitive, something about this one can make my eyes flare up a little bit more, probably because that peptide is the one peptide I've ever seen the biggest results as far as lifting my upper eye area, this one. But again, I haven't been able to use it for a while because I've been having so many eye issues, unfortunately. So I'm going to, if I use this under makeup, I use the tiniest amount that I can because, ooh, that was even probably too much. It's very rich. So I am gonna use just maybe on the outer corner and the inner corner because I get dry right here. And then where my eyes are very textured, so that makeup will be able to sit better on that area of my face. These are definitely the trifecta for me. Has those anti-aging benefits, hydrating to plump fine lines, and caffeine to kind of constrict that eye area. So if you're looking for a one and done both morning and night, I would pick something like this. If you're looking for the most affordable, I would probably go something like a caffeine serum in the morning and then something like a retinol at night. Both of these you can get really affordably. And then if you're like, Sarah, but what if my whole face needs depuffed? I would try something like the Dr. Idris. This is the Depuffer. It's a roll-on serum. It's depuffing and redness reducing. So if you have a lot of rosacea, that's what I got mine for. It's one of those click type serums, and then you squeeze it and then you can roll, and it already has like a cooling metal roller on it. You can also use this around the eyes as well. So it's kind of like a one and done, like full face. Put it on, leave it for 15 minutes, and then your face, you should be able to tell a noticeable difference. If you're looking more for like just kind of relaxation of lines on your face, and say you've tried these hydrating serums and they're just not doing it for you, it's not enough, then you want to look for something with a peptide to relax those lines. Again, temporary. It's all temporary. There's no magical serums, no matter what you see on social media, that will just erase these lines or whatever. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but this one is the Dr. Brandt Wrinkle Smoothing Cream, Needles No More. This one, I actually feel like I can tell a difference. So I'm just gonna use a little bit where my wrinkles, again, if you're like me and you have issues with, like I have forehead lines, but I also have very hooded eyelids, and obviously that is my problem area. I have not gotten Botox in years. Yes, I have forehead wrinkles. I'm not saying I don't need it, but you have to also take into consideration and do. So my biggest issue is my eyelids. Now, if I get Botox here, it actually will droop my lids. You can't actually lift here and get rid of wrinkles here. You have to pick one or the other. Address the forehead or address the eyelid drooping situation. And as we age, if you already have hooded eyes, you probably have noticed your eyes will get more and more hooded, your brows get lower. And so I would rather be able to lift my brows in order to see than have, and this is also what's causing more wrinkles on my forehead. So one of those things that can maybe help, because I'm not ready for surgical intervention. I want to obviously do what I can with skincare, but I also have realistic expectations. I know what's possible with skincare, and it can do a lot, but it is also not comparable to surgery. Saying I'm opposed, but I am by no means ready for that kind of investment or even recovery for that matter. So now that my skincare is done, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up with my sunscreen and let that set while I go do my hair. And then we'll be back to talk makeup tips and tricks. Okay, I'm back. My sunscreen has set. So now I can go in with makeup and it's not gonna disturb it and lose any protection. And you can tell my skin looks way better than earlier. It's amazing what a little hydration and key caffeine ingredients can do. Now, if your lips are like mine, and doesn't matter what lip overnight mask I use, my lips are, again, we lose collagen in this over time as we get older. So for me, a lip plumper is key. I would love to know if you guys have a holy grail lip plumper. I either feel like they don't work or they work, but they smell bad. If you guys have tried any that you know what I'm talking about, this is the only one I feel like that really works well lately that I found. Dr. Dennis Gross. But it will turn the entire perimeter of my lips bright red. So I would love to find one that actually works as well as this, but doesn't do that. So if you have one, please share. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime the eyelids and do just my face makeup. Leave my under eyes and my eyeshadow alone. And then we're gonna come back and talk about those key tips for those problem areas that everyone seems to have. All right, I'm starting to wake up. Face is partially on, eyes are not. So I wanna show you guys the difference. We're gonna do Seint on one side, traditional concealer on the other, and I'm gonna show you what really matters when it comes to under eyes is prepping first. You cannot expect any makeup to lay well over dehydrated, dry under eyes. So if you do your skincare and you wait to put on your makeup later, you might be one of those people that needs to throw on a balm under the eyes right before you are doing your makeup. If you're like me and you get ready quick all at once in the morning, just let your under eyes dry down enough while you're doing your hair, putting on your clothes, while your sunscreen is setting, so that when you're ready for makeup, they are still hydrated. Like you can feel a little bit of tack there. You feel hydrated, but they're not. You don't want to do it like just right before you put your eye makeup down, or it's just gonna slip and slide, right? You want to give it enough time to dry down, soak in a little bit, okay? So might take a little trial and error, figure out what works for you based on the products you're using. So I'm gonna do Seint first because it is the easiest for me. I have it down to a science. I can do it in my sleep. So I'm gonna color correct first. There is no under eye for me without color correction, because if I was to put my brightener or my main shade down, it would give me no coverage on the depth that I have or even out my under eyes. I'm lighter in some areas, have dark spots, and have the blue and purple tones. And so I'm gonna use the blend brush. I love the small end because it's dense. I'm just gonna barely tap in. And with any makeup, the second thing is less is more. You don't need to pile on products around your eyes. Our eyes move, like, look at all the lines I have naturally when smiling. It's called a happy life. Like, I don't want to lose that. But you know what? That's just the way my face anatomy is. And I have a lot of wrinkles because I have big cheeks. And so it pushes all of that thinner skin and moves it. And there's nothing I can do about it. But I don't want to emphasize it, obviously. You know, we want to age gracefully. So I'm just slowly adding corrector to minimize the veins around my eyes. And you'll notice I don't go all the way up to this lash line here. I'm just putting it where I have the darkest points. But does my under eye look orange? Number one question I get every single time I color match someone to Mango. it looks orange. My under eyes don't look orange at all. If you are putting this on heavy, it will. But guess what? Even a lighter shade that could look orange or yellow if you're over applying. So it doesn't matter. Application is everything. So this brush picks up enough product, but I can be light-handed, okay? Buff it on where I need. And then if I need more coverage anywhere, I'm gonna just kind of press it. Now, I did not get a full coverage eye with just my color corrector. That's not how it works. Now I'm gonna go in with my main shade, and now I'm gonna press it because I don't wanna move the color I just placed. And again, I'm being real light-handed. Just enough that it's gonna kind of slowly even out my under eye area. And look even. I mean, that's the key. I look way more rested when just that area of my face is even toned. It's amazing like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Under eyes have a lot of color and depth to them. Doesn't mean you have to block out all depth either. But again, under eyes are also very personal preference. And I feel like the older I've gotten, the more I realize less is more. I don't mind a little bit of depth showing through as long as it's not emphasizing the texture under my eyes, because that is my main goal, is to just even out the tone and not emphasize that texture. I would much rather have a little bit of depth than my under eyes looking dry and really textured. And the drier your under eyes are, the more those fine lines are going to stand out, I promise. So that's just with my color corrector and main shade. I didn't even use a brightener, and I'll be honest, most days I don't anymore because I just don't feel it necessary. If I'm gonna use a brightener, I actually will keep it right here to the side of my nose, because you can tell the sides of my nose are way darker, and it actually helps kind of slim my nose a little bit. And since my under eyes are naturally lighter, I just don't need as much product there. So if you have mature eyes like me and you want to use a brightener, or say you need to, then you want to kind of concentrate it here next to the nose, right here in this triangle, or onto even the side of the nose. Okay, you don't want it all the way up here. And I see people putting it right here, which again, you have to look at your own face anatomy. And if you have a lot of texture there, you want to avoid all areas of texture with your lightest shade, because the lighter you go with Seint highlights, the more it will emphasize texture naturally. And if you're not layering shades, then these are automatically going to increase texture. You have to match the darkest points of your face first. And then because I use this color corrector first, which is the darkest shade, this shade will now sit on top of it nicely. Whereas without it, it would look dry and cakey. So have realistic expectations, and application is everything, because your under eyes won't look cakey if you are applying it in that order and you are using less product. And so that's all I need, and that eye is good. But the key, in my opinion, for most people's application is gonna be this, because if you're ever layering Seint highlights like I teach, because that's the only way it works for me, the perfector is the only thing that's gonna make sure you're not gonna have loads of creasing as soon as you smile, or cakiness. Because if I was to just go straight in with the powder on this, even though it doesn't look like I have a lot of product on, it could look cakey if I put too much powder on. So you always wanna just kind of use the damp perfector. I wet this earlier. I dried it in a towel as much as I possibly could, and then I was letting it kind of sit out and dry on the surface as I was doing my under eye. And so now I can just gently tap that under the eye and make sure I'm removing all excess, okay? So once I have all excess pulled off, this is the only way to remove excess product with Seint. And as you're learning how to apply it, you're naturally gonna apply too much. Like if you would see my older videos, if you've watched them, I over applied for years, okay? So it was a learning process. We were all learning together. Okay, once I have excess removed and I look and I'm like, okay, I have nothing sitting in those lines because I've got plenty of them. I'm gonna go in and powder. And I'm gonna have to figure out a new way because I know this brush is being discontinued at the end of the month and I might cry, but as of right now, this has been my routine and powdering and has never failed me because our vanilla dust, I highly recommend if you're wanting to blur under the eyes. Skip the feather blotting dust, it is shimmery. If you have mature under eyes, you do not want added shimmer, you want to blur. And the easiest way to blur, people are so scared of powders because they're afraid they're gonna look cakey, but it's all in application. So less is more, you don't swipe in. I'm just going to touch that vanilla dust. And this is a very finely milled powder and that's key for anyone with mature under eyes. And I'm just gonna press it under the eye. And it will blur and it never looks cakey. Now that area is set because Seint creams do not set themselves. You have to set them with a powder. That's now set, and so I will not get creasing all day. Like I've never gotten creasing with this technique. So now you can see my lids are creased because I did not perfect on top. All that creasing, yeah. So do not put powder over that. You will literally set the creasing in place. I'm going to smooth that out. I'm going to make sure I don't have excess so I get a nice base for eyeshadow because the eyelid is just as important, especially if you have creepy eyelids like me. We need a nice smooth canvas. So I did swipe because the eyelid can take a lot more powder and you need to have a really powdered base in order to get eyeshadows, which are powders, to blend off of. Otherwise they will stick to all of that excess product that was on your lid that was creasing up. Okay, so that right there is the Seint side. Very natural, never cakey, very easy. I can do it very quickly. I'll be honest, this side is way harder for me. I have been testing under eye concealers, and now I will admit I had not used traditional makeup as far as a concealer goes for 8 years. And technology's come a long way. Innovation in the beauty industry is at a record fast pace right now. And I will say that this is by far the best, but most expensive concealer I've ever used. The thing is, it's gonna last me so long because you use so little product. So here's what I've learned when it comes to mature under eyes with traditional makeup. It is a lot of trial and error with products and amounts used. It's all technique. I can put on one product one day and be like, ooh, I hate it. And then the next day, use a different brush and a different technique and I can get it to work. But understanding formulations, it's a whole nother ballgame because they're all so different. So I'm gonna use the Creel Face Flex. This is incredible. I wear shade 5.0. This is, they call it a one dip because you don't have to get any more product. This is for your full face. So I will say, watching people apply concealer online usually makes me cringe because even mature women I follow, the amount of concealer they're applying, I cannot do that. My under eyes are definitely not like a 30-year-old's and I can't apply that much product. It looks horrible, okay? So the key is less is more. I'm literally gonna put a dot there and a dot there. That's it, okay? You can always add more, but man, is it harder to take away. Now, the thing is, I'm gonna use the same brush, but I have two. This is the Nikki LaRose N14 from BK Beauty. You'll see one's kind of skinnier and one's like floofier. That's because I've been using this one for powder and this one for concealer. And I find, and I have bought a lot of concealer brushes as well. They all work about the same. A fluffier brush for some reason helps me. I don't know if it's because most of the product gets picked up on the bristles, but it distributes easier to where I can just kind of tap in and distribute that product under the eye. Okay, now this is gonna be enough for, my entire eye. Literally my entire eye. A little goes a long way with this product. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, like it already looks like too much. Too much. It's okay, I can get this to work. But that just shows you how very little you'll need of something like that. And every single time I try to use the amount that I see other people my age using online, I'm like, how? Granted, their under eyes do not look like mine. So, if yours look like mine, less is more, okay? So just, and this product definitely can easily like be pulled. So I can just keep pressing. So pressing, I'm not swiping. I am just gently tapping in order to disperse it and blend it. And I'm just tapping everywhere to kind of just blend it out, and you can easily pull it down. Now this color on me is very natural. It's not super brightening. It's a little brightening, but it's not like unrealistic, right? And the lighter you go with any concealer, the more it will emphasize. It just has to do with light and dark. If you go light, it's going to emphasize texture. Okay, so just remember that when you're picking concealer shades as well. Now, you can also use a darker shade for the rest of your face and use that to get coverage under the eyes, and then just use the smallest amount, just like we do with Seint, and then brighten. Just be more strategic, okay? And like, think about where you have the texture and avoid those areas, okay? So that is with traditional concealer, and that product in and of itself is what I found best for mature eyes. It doesn't really, it gives great coverage, but doesn't increase the look of texture under my eyes, whereas 99% of the concealers I have tested, I can't. Like they look worse. Like I'd rather just go without. So one thing I will say is I'm always gonna make sure I tap out and not have any creasing, anything in lines. Before I set it, okay? Going in with the same brush, but a clean one. In the in 14, share with you a few of the powders I found that I feel like I can use as a mature-eyed lady. So if you hate setting under your eyes, if you hate powders, try the Fenty Invisimatte. This is one of the most finely milled powders. You can barely see it. You won't be able to see it. And you can still set under your eyes with it. And then also the Portrait Mode Refining Setting Powder by M Cosmetics. Really cute, compact, comes with a little puff. This one is also very finely milled. Both are in translucent, I believe. Or universal and sheer, is that the color? Made in Japan, very good. And then I shared with you guys not too long ago the Vive. I've been using this on repeat because this one I can totally use under my eyes. This one is a little bit darker because it is shade medium, but it's very good for even mature skin. So here's my thing with mature under eyes. Less is more with powder, and the type of powder matters. If you get a very finely milled powder, like one of these, that probably are considered more of a finishing powder than a setting powder per se, I would say you could use them in conjunction with something like a loose powder. So here's what I'm talking about. I'll just show you the Fenty. So when I use a brush like this, I'm going to get it on each side, tap off excess, and then I'm simply going to tap it in order to make sure that that entire area is set, okay? Now, this kind of powder is meant to be used not necessarily to set your face. I feel like I can get away with it if using very little around my eyes, because if I use, say, a loose powder around my eyes, typically these are heavier, they can show more texture, but they are the best way to set a face. So if you have oily skin, if you have oily eyelids, like for me personally, I just put this on this eyelid. It will not be enough to keep oil at bay through my lid, even though I also used an eyeshadow primer. It just doesn't have as much absorbency, and it's just so finely milled that it's not gonna necessarily replace something like a loose powder can. But I find that the key to doing an under eye is to first lay down something very finely milled. Then when you go in with a puff or loose powder, it doesn't cling and you can actually get a really smooth finish that way. So the key with a loose powder, if you're a loose powder girly, is to pick it up on your puff. Never go directly into the face like this, but you want to even that out on the back of your hand. Okay, even it out on the puff. Then when you go in, this will fully set and almost blur that under eye. Okay, it's gonna give you a very matte finish if that's what you like. But know that a matte under the eye will always show less texture. It's gonna blur. If you hate powder, then I still recommend finding a setting powder that's very light, that maybe doesn't give you a fully matte finish, that will let a little bit of a glow show through. But if you're wanting the most blurred effect to your under eye, then a powder is the way to go. There's no question. And I'd recommend the two-step because it does make a difference. If you've ever looked cakey under the eye and you're using a traditional loose powder, that's probably why, and it's an easy fix. If you feel like your under eyes look dry, like I can tell even on camera, I feel like this side looks more blurred, but it also looks more dry. I am one that, I just don't like a dry any look to my face. And so there are some good setting sprays on the market. I have a setting spray showdown coming, but the M Cosmetics, this is the Divine Water Perfecting Mist. It is the same brand as this powder. Both are fantastic. This one will take away the dry look. Vive, their setting spray is amazing. This will definitely take it away as well. And then the new One Size, this is the Powder Melt Glass Setting Spray. I was afraid this was going to give way to, they call it glass skin. I was afraid it was really gonna like be too dewy for mature skin. It is not the case at all. So if you really wanna powder and blur, but then you're like, ooh, like to me, this is almost gonna be like a fix-it spray for me. It's gonna fix when areas of my face look too dry. I can immediately throw this on and it fixes it. It takes it away. It gives a little bit of glow and luminosity back to my skin. It takes away that powder look. But so many setting sprays will do that. But I do know I have a lot of clients who don't want to use a powder, who only want to use a setting spray. And there's just no comparison, in my opinion, to the blur you get from a setting powder and the actual setting power you get from this. And a setting spray has very much to do with like how much you're applying. Are you getting a very even layer underneath your eyes to actually set that makeup in place? Most people aren't spraying that enough. Like they're not spraying enough to get that full effect. I find the best is the combination of the two. Use a powder, make sure it's set in place. This can take away the powdery finish or whatever finish you want. There are so many great options. So that is coming. So again, have realistic expectations. The blur power or looking cakey. I feel like I'm more prone to looking cakey when I'm using a loose powder, the dry under eye. Which one would you prefer? Dry, blurred, or hydrated a little bit? more glowy, but it can show a little bit of an increase in texture. And so understanding what is most important to you can be your deciding factor on like how you like to do your under eyes. And makeup is completely a personal preference. It doesn't matter what kind of powder you're using, less is more. You can use a very light powder like this and apply it with a puff and streak it on, and it's gonna look cakey immediately. So use less, always tap off excess. I find this brush was such a game changer for me because you can just tap it under the eye and it fits so perfectly. This is why I have two. You can use it for both. All right, I finished my face and did my brows. So let's finish up with a quick eye look and talk a little bit about placement. So obviously, like I said before, our eyes get more hooded if you have hooded eyes. I've been told I don't have hooded eyes. I have one eye that is so much more hooded than the other, okay? All it means if you have hooded eyes is that when your eyes are open, looking straight forward, part of your visible mobile lid that goes up and down from here all the way to the crease, part of it is not visible. That's it. So if you can see your entire eyelid, you do not have hooded eyes. Most people have some degree of hooded eye, and they become more hooded as we age, and obviously gravity is doing its thing. So because of my eye dermatitis on this side, this entire eye is so much lower than it used to be. So we're gonna disguise that. What's the best way to disguise crepey or hooded eyes? That is using light and dark, tricking the eye, using shadow in order to make that hood push back, okay? So I know some people want all mattes on the eyes. That is definitely an outdated technique. You do not need all mattes, but you do need a matte where it's the most important, and that is on your hood. So if you have hooded or aging eyes, listen up. It's very simple. You want to take some matte shade that is at least, I'd say, 2 to 3 shades darker than your skin tone. It's a personal preference. Whatever you want. You will notice though, as you experiment with shades, that some shades will push that hood farther back and look more like a natural shadow, and then some will not. So like Claire, for example, I love this shade on my hood, but it doesn't necessarily trick the eye as much of something that's going to give more of a realistic, like brown, neutral, or even cooler shadow looking tone. So you can play with multiple. I love keeping, you know, the lighter shades up here, and then where the crease is actually on my eye, putting a darker, more cooler shade there. Again, it's just going to make that eye look like that part is pushed back. So whereas that's coming forward and our orbital bone here, if you have a very pronounced orbital bone or very large eye space like I do, then you'll be able to use more. If you have a smaller eye and your brow is closer to your actual, and you have a smaller lid space, you won't be able to play with as much of a color variation going from light to dark, or dark to light. You guys know what I mean? Dark to light. You'll have less space to work with, but that doesn't mean that the technique will change. It just means you would need less eyeshadow. So I'm gonna start with one eye. I'm just gonna use powders because powders are the easiest for beginners. And I'm just gonna go ahead and go in with Sedona. This is not the coolest shade, but I'm just gonna use a fluffy blending brush, and I'm gonna show you how just adding depth only, this isn't even a shadow color, but just adding depth right there is going to automatically push that back. Do you see how less visible this hood is already than this one? Okay, we're just tricking the eye. So if you like an all matte look, you can, but you still want to play with light and dark, and you always want to have this darker shade where your brow is coming at you, right? That's going to push it back. When you take this color all the way down to the lash line, you're losing the effect, okay? Because This right here is lighter, so it's bringing forward. That is helping push that eye back, right? And you're gonna lose that if you do one solid color all over the lid. So this is why when you hear me talk about a one shadow eye look, it needs to be a matte, it needs to be on your hood, and it needs to be darker than your natural skin tone so that this can be the light and that can be the dark. Do you see that? And you can just play with it. If you just want one, it's really easy, right? Just keep it on the hood and then give it a nice blend so it doesn't look harsh. So much better, okay? And when I'm in a hurry, that's all I do. Sometimes I add a little bit of liner in the outer corner to kind of define the lash line, but that's it, okay? I also am a big fan of not adding too much depth on the lower lash line as we mature. I feel like harsh liners, it doesn't mean I won't ever wear a liner on the bottom if it is a dramatic look, but for the most part, we just want to kind of define that line, define the lower lash line, same color, and just diffuse it out, okay? So there's a one shadow eye look. We just left our lid open, and that is the light, okay? So that would be all matte, in my opinion, okay? Or you can go in with a lighter than the color you used up here, lighter, and enough that it's not gonna just blend in and look like all one color when you're done. Or you can use a shimmer. I prefer a shimmer, even though I have the most textured eyelids ever, I still prefer shimmers. It makes my eyes look better. I swear when I look at pictures, I prefer a little bit of shimmer on my lid. Doesn't matter what it is. So I'm just gonna grab Crush. It's one of my faves. And I'm just gonna use my finger. It's a very neutral, people think it looks orange. It doesn't. It's just like a very peachy neutral. And I'm just gonna pop that right on. And this is typically, if I'm in a hurry, it's a 2 color, and that takes 2 seconds. Just enough that it's gonna open up the eye, because as this gets heavier, it's really hard for us to kind of brighten up the eye and open it as our hoods are feeling heavy on our face, right? So there's a nice 2 color with Seint. So that was Sedona and Crush. So I'm gonna use liquids on the other side because I feel like liquids are having a moment, a big moment, and they're great for mature eyes and they're very easy as well. So I was just sent these. I've actually been dying to try this line and their liquid eyeshadows look fantastic. So this is Gen C and I'm gonna use the shade Melon 06 and we're just gonna do the exact same thing. This one's a little bit lighter than the Sedona I used, but I'm just gonna kind of place, kind of hard to see on camera, a little bit. And I'm gonna pick up the N16 Nikki LaRose. You can use so many different brushes for this. And I'm just gonna kind of pat that. And I do love these liquid shadows because they are super easy to blend out. They also, most on the market are really long wearing. I would say, depending on your eyes, some of them can feel a little more drying than even a powder. So I do notice that sometimes, but if you have very oily eyelids, they tend to work really well. And I am an oily eyelid girly. So I went ahead and just I'm gonna kind of try to build it up. This is kind of a lighter color than it looks like in the tube, but it is really pretty for like a natural, just kind of slightly carving out that. And I feel like I'm gonna need to go a little bit darker so you guys can see the full effect on camera. So I'm gonna pull out another one. I'm sure you guys have seen me use the Armani ones. These are way cheaper, but I feel like I need a little bit more depth so that they look a little bit more comparable. And so this is 22M, I believe it's called Cashew. So I'm just layering up 2. I'm just gonna keep this one, like I said before, a little bit more in the natural crease of my eye so that I can build up a little bit of shadow, outer corner, And these aren't even the same brand, but I have not tried this technique, but they are blending beautifully together. Okay, so hopefully you can see how that added a little bit more depth. So when in doubt, go a little darker. If you're not seeing the effect you want of your hood being pushed back, just means that you need to maybe layer up a little bit more depth. Now this shade is beautiful. This is Hollywood, and it's like a rose gold shimmer in my opinion. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that on the lid, and I'm just gonna use my finger. Now one thing I didn't mention was that one thing that really helps disguise my hooded eyes are my lashes, which is why I wear them so often. And when I don't wear them, I typically feel like all I can see is my eyelids and how uneven they are. So when in doubt, some lashes. Today I'm wearing, let's see, style Twill in 12 and 14. And these are both the Lynx lashes. And yeah, they just give me way more definition and finish off the look really easily. Same thing, I'm gonna go in with the liquid on the bottom lash as well, just to add a little bit of that shadow without a harsh liner. So don't be afraid of shimmers and mattes. It's all about placement. Keep the shimmer on the lid or inner corner. So I'm gonna grab my current favorite. In fact, you could probably use this liquid eyeshadow because I feel like that would be a really pretty. Let's see the difference. This is Ballerina by Vive. I finally got this bad boy in, and it reminds me very much so. It's a little bit lighter. Here's Ballerina, and here's that Ginsey color. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of Ballerina as my highlight. You can use any eyeshadow that really catches light, but man, this one will dry down and set, and it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm gonna use that. Again, as our brows fall, you also wanna make sure you aren't just highlighting the entire space under your brow. For one, I have a lot of texture there, especially right now with my dermatitis. So I wanna make sure it's as close to the natural arch and only right at the top there. Otherwise, if you get it too far down on the tail, this tail will drag down. It's gonna do the opposite effect. We wanna lift, so we keep it right at the top. And then when you're filling in your brows even, try going as straight as possible. Mine is very hard to do because my brows just naturally are very arched. But if you do have a more straight brow, try drawing it as straight as you can, and that actually will give more lift to that outside corner as well and really help when your eyes start dragging down. So anything you can do to brighten your eye is a win-win, okay? It's gonna kind of detract from things that are starting to set. Last but not least, let's talk liners. Now, I am all for a liquid liner. I love liquid liner, but you'll never see me use a liquid liner without softening it with a powder eyeshadow over it. And that's not only for longevity, but that is also just to soften because, again, harsh lines as we get older, they can really age us. So finding a good pencil that is long wearing, smudgeable, but once you smudge it out, it will set and not go anywhere has been key, right? There are a lot of really good ones. I've talked about the Huda before. I like this if you're going to tight line, if you're not wearing lashes and you want to go up under the line, this one is fantastic. If you like just a typical pencil liner, the Makeup by Mario, Master Pigment Pro pencils are great. They smudge out, they come with a little brush on the end, so you can kind of wing it if you want. And then they do set and they don't move. My favorites lately have been these micro pencils. They're very small tipped and oh man, they're just so easy to apply. They're so easy. I don't feel like I need to go back in and smudge them out. They just are beautiful, and they're so much easier as we get older, and the skin around our eyes is more movable, you know what I mean? So it allows me to get right on in, right at the base, and have a really precise line. The thicker your line is as your eyes are hooded, the more it takes away from this lid space and will again close off your eye, making your eye look smaller, more hooded. And so having a really thin line is also very key for hooded eyes. And so this one is by Life. It's one of my favorites because on the other side, it has an angled brush. And I don't know what it is about this little brush that makes the perfect, you can just pull it out on the side and make a perfect wing. So good. And then one of my favorite brands, Soshi, has a waterproof precision eyeliner. This color, this is like Revival in a pencil. It's the most beautiful burgundy, dark. They have so many colors that I want to try. Another one made in Japan, Nights in Bordeaux is this color. And it is the perfect like variation, like not black. I don't wear black a lot. This is coffee bean, this is a dark brown. And to show you the difference, this is the Life and this is the Soshi, and they're both so good. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in with the Soshi. I'm obsessed with this color, and I'm just gonna make sure I have some definition. Also, these tiny little pencils make adding a little wing, and then just using your finger to kind of smudge it out. Simple, literally simple. I'm all for simple and quick. So it doesn't mean I'm gonna line my eyes every day, but some days it can kind of depend on the eye look as well. Okay, if you don't wear lashes, obviously add mascara. Lots of black mascara, key to kind of open up the eyes as well. So there is a Seint side minus a couple things, and I used some other favorite products on this side. You guys tell a difference in the under eyes. I feel like I still have eye bags, but let me tell you, they're a lot better than when we first started. Am I right? Okay, friends, there you go. There's the look and some of my favorite products for making me feel like myself again. Mature Eye Edition. So don't forget to check out Sleep and Glow's sale for their birthday this month. Use my code CHEMIST15 to save. If you're needing help with any of your Seint, I will put my color match questionnaire down in the drop box below the video. Heads up, there is a customer appreciation sale happening starting today, and there is a free gift with purchase of an exclusive lip and cheek shade that you can only get. So I will put it right there. A beautiful sheer gloss. Oh, I want it so bad. I wish I had it to show you guys, but it is only available today. So if you have any questions over anything I used or did, let me know in the comments below. If you have any holy grail, like just perks up your skin and makes you feel renewed when you wake up in the morning, please share it with all of us below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.